Hey guys, Mike here from Binya Outdoors, heading out for a day of fishing, and it's actually post-spawn. The bass are pretty much done on the lake I'm on, and I kind of thought about a concept that I think a lot of people misunderstand from information they get from YouTubers, from reading articles, things like that. So the common theory is that, bass come into the shallows and they spawn in the shallow areas, like where I am right now, for example. This is a spawning flat for the bass on my home lake. And then they go deep. But what people don't say is, what is deep? What is defined as deep? Because I think a lot of people have this weird interpretation, because I know I did, that deep is 20 feet of water, and now I've got to go run deep diving crankbaits and drag bottom with jigs and drop shot to find bass. That's not always the case. There is a certain subset of bass that live where they spawn. So first of all, don't just immediately abandon the spawning flats because they're done. There's some places where I fish where honestly, the bass live there all year and they just happen to spawn in that area. So it works out, there's still some there. Now there will be less. You won't have that big pocket of fish that you normally have during the spawn. And if you don't find the fish that are still in that area, what do you do? Where do you go locate them? Well, deep, again, is a relative term. Some of the bodies of water I fish, deep is 15 feet. That's the deepest point of the whole lake. But if the bass are spawning in a foot or 2 foot of water, they're not going to swim 4 miles immediately after the spawn and just start laying on the bottom. And I think that's what a lot of people think, is that they just have to go find the deepest water and that's where the bass will be. Bass move in stages. So what I like to do is I basically double the depth of where they originally spawned. So if they're spawning in 3 feet, I try to find 6 to 8. I start there, I work some of the same baits I was using, and actually post-spawn, a lot of times I will work my way into bigger baits. So I will throw bigger paddle tail swim baits, I will throw swim jigs, I will throw like mag drafts, because what I find is that, to understand the way bass work, before the spawn, they feed up. During the spawn, they don't eat at all. So my mentality is, if they haven't been eating during the spawn, they already don't have a ton of energy because they haven't had a lot of food. They're not going to want to chase little baits. They're not going to want to chase tiny Ned rigs. They're going to want to get their calories as quickly as possible to gear up to go where they plan to go. So having a bigger profile bait helps a lot. And honestly, movement is your friend. Post-spawn, you're not going to get as many groups of schooling bass. So what you want to do is you want to use swim jigs, you want to use chatterbaits, crankbaits, and you want to kind of chuck wind, fan cast, but like I said, double the depth from where they were spawning, from where you were catching them during the spawn. So go to 8 feet, cruise around in that 8-foot area, then go out a little bit deeper and kind of systematically work your way out. Document where you find them, because I will tell you, where they spawn in 2024 is where they're going to spawn in 2025, 2026. If that water is still there, those bass are spawning there for a reason. Well, guess what? When they move out from the spawn and they go into post spawn, they're going to go the same way back out too. So they actually have a pretty predictable pattern. You just have to figure it out. Once you've gotten it dialed in, write it down, document it, set your waypoints, and you'll be a lot more successful during the beginning of the year. So I hope that information helps you guys out, maybe gives you a little bit of a school of thought on how to approach post-spawn fishing, because sometimes it can be tough. I will admit it is a little tricky. But once you figure out, where they're spawning, go double that depth, start there, work your way out a little bit, use bigger baits, and I almost can guarantee you, you'll find that same school of fish you were beating up during the spawn. Well, thank you guys for coming along with me. If you haven't already, hit that like, hit that subscribe, and as always, let's get out there, catch more fish.